If you are a parent that is experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety about doing this parenting thing like I am currently, then this video is for you. So recently, in the last few years actually, to be honest, there are three things that I have been really struggling with in my parenting. I try to say that I'm a good parent and that I do my best, and that's all true, but I think recently I've learned some things about myself that, if I'm really honest, I want to change and fix. Okay, so those three things that I want to change, like I want to fix them, and I actually want to like slay these things. Number one is my son, who is 7 years old right now, is very much attention seeking recently, right? And he's been like that for a few years, and I always thought like, oh, he'll grow out of it. He's 7 years old. He started going to a school recently, private school, and it's still going on, right? And I always told myself like, oh, he'll grow out of that. But recently I've just been hitting me like, I don't want to rely on that thought as a dependency, like, oh, he'll grow out of this, where in reality it's very unpleasant to have a child that is attention seeking and, doing all the stuff that kids do, tantrums, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to get into it. So that's the thing I want to fix. All right, that's number one. Number two thing I want to fix is my wife and I get really stressed out about stuff, especially with parenting, especially when our son does this. Like, we have two kids, three kids now, right? Little baby. And I don't like that. Like, I don't like that parenting is stressful and difficult for us. I don't want it to be. I don't think it has to be. I think we can enjoy it more. But there are times where we just are like stressed out of our minds. We're just tired. We're just irritable. We're just unloving. We say things that we don't mean and we don't wish upon our kids. And I hate that. Okay? So that's the second thing that's going on. The third thing that's going on is this underlying feeling I have of like, what are we doing wrong? You know what I'm saying? Because like, I'm like you. I'm a high achieving person. I am intentional. I do my best. We spend our time, quality time with our kids. We do everything with intention. We do our best. And I believe that we have. So this unsettling feeling is like, what are we doing wrong? Like, what are we not seeing? And what are we not doing that we're so unhappy at times? We are happy generally, but at times we're so stressed and unhappy. And what are we doing that our son is becoming like this attention-seeking person, and we really don't want him to be like that because it won't serve him very well in the future if he's like that. Okay, so let's address these in order. Number one, attention-seeking. I've come to terms and realization that I think in our case, and for many kids that seek attention, they're not seeking eyeballs, they're not seeking any of that. They're actually seeking support and love, and they don't know how to express it, so that's how they express it. And they don't know how to verbalize that, which is kind of a daunting realization to come to personally, because I realized that, I think actually, to be quite frank, my wife and I have both, maybe I would say, spoiled our son in particular with attention and love, right? Because he's our firstborn, and we did our best to like give him all the attention and love. But I think to an extent, it does a disservice if the attention you're giving is ingenuine, or it's over the top, or at the same time we're not teaching him how to ask for attention and love in a productive way. Does that make sense? So in the recent months and years, we've kind of learned the behavior of when our son is seeking attention to basically ignore him until he learns how to ask for it in a productive way. So if he's asking for it, or he's being nice about it, then I'm willing to have a conversation with him or to give him the attention, right? But anytime he's throwing a tantrum or, whatever, picking on his sister, the stuff that kids do, that he does, I tend to gravitate toward just ignoring it and just not giving it power, not giving it fuel, because that's not doing him a service, right? And I'm trying to teach him that he doesn't need attention to know that he is supported and loved, because that's really what he wants. And that's, I think, the training and behavioral training that I in particular have trained him, is that anytime he seeks attention, I would try to fix it, or I would try to, just mitigate the pain that he's experiencing, right? And I think it does a big disservice. So that's a different behavior change that I've been dealing with, is just thinking, how can I support him in showing him how to ask for attention in a productive way, and help him realize that he doesn't need that type of attention, but he already has all the support and love that he needs to be happy and successful in life. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that my wife and I are stressed out of our mind at some times. They're like, maybe every few weeks we'll have an evening where the kids aren't listening, they're not going to bed, they're goofing around, they're not doing the school, whatever it is, not cleaning up is a big one. And we just lose it, and it kind of spirals, because when my wife loses it, then I lose it, and then it just spirals out of control, right? So I think the solution to this personally, like, I want to fix it. I don't want this to be like an ongoing, I want to fix this. I think for us personally, it is a personal thing. It's like, I don't want to just blame my son and say like, oh, it's because of him. I don't think that's true. I think that if he manages to not be so demanding and attention seeking, then it would help us with managing our own stress and emotional regulation. But also what I'm realizing is that my wife and I are very much tied to each other. So if one of us is really good and feeling energized and can be loving to our kids, then generally everything will be okay. But if both of us are down, it's like all hell is broke loose now, right? And now this is my tendency to always replicate her emotional state, which is it's not necessarily a great thing when she's really stressed out of her mind and she's pregnant and she's going through all kinds of stuff, right? But I tend to get equally kind of frustrated or stressed if she becomes like that, right? And she tends to do the same if I become stressed out, right? And I think that is a destructive cycle, downward spiral to be in, because I think the emotional state should not affect each other to the point of negativity. Like if one of us is depressed or sad that day, or angry, upset, it shouldn't make the other one upset. We should understand and have empathy, which is the goal, but it shouldn't be the case that we're also becoming that emotional state. Now, if I really peel it back and I'm honest with myself and I asked why is it that my wife's mood affects me so much, to be honest, I've discovered that it's really because I have insecurities about myself as a man and as a provider and as a husband. So if she's unhappy, I feel like I am not providing for my wife. I feel like I'm failing as a husband. It's like the old saying, happy wife, happy life, right? Which is nice and noble to think about and to say that, but in actuality, I think it's actually BS. Like, I don't think that someone's happiness should dictate your own happiness. If someone's happy, it should make you happy, but on the flip side, if someone's upset, it shouldn't also make you upset. So, to the same degree, I don't want to be someone that relies on my wife's happiness in order to feel like I'm succeeding. And that's a very personal thing, because at some point in my life, I guess I decided that my worth as a man is dictated by how happy my wife is. And then if she's unhappy, I go, well, why aren't you happy? Why don't you just be grateful? Why don't you, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you guys can understand that, right? So that's the thing, is managing my understanding that this is going on, that when my wife is upset, it also makes me upset because I feel insecurity about my role as a man, helps me understand that it shouldn't, and that my worth doesn't come from that, but actually comes from something deeper. And that's actually very soothing and liberating personally. The third thing that's going on here is this idea that, what am I doing wrong? Like, of everything I've done for our kids, I still come to points where we're really stressed out of my mind, where I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not seeing this? I've done my best. And that's what I keep telling myself. I've done my best. I've done absolutely everything I can. Here's the thing though. If I'm really honest with myself and objective, I don't think I've done my best. And I think that's hard for a parent to admit, because it's such a personal thing, and to an extent it's very uncomfortable being a parent, but that doesn't by default mean that you've tried your best. And so I asked myself, how much money, time, and energy have I actually invested in learning how to do this parenting thing? Very little, actually, in comparison to the amount of time, money, and energy I've spent on learning other things and other skills. So I think it's actually an unreasonable conclusion to say that I have tried my best to be a good parent, and therefore I've concluded that it's very difficult and it's incredibly hard, and what else am I doing, and going to that spiral cycle. That's actually very unreasonable, I'm realizing. So I'm changing my mind frame, my kind of way of thinking and perspective, to say I've actually not tried my best to learn how to do this parenting thing, but I've kind of just winged it and hoped that it was good enough. And I think most parents actually do this, because most parents don't have the humility actually and the courage to actually say, like, I have not tried my best, I don't know what I'm doing, and maybe my best by myself is actually not enough to get the results I want, okay? Because the results I want is, I don't want to be stressed, and I don't want my kids to be stressed, and I want everyone to be happy, right? In the most genuine kind of sense, not in like a happy-go-lucky way, but like joyful, truly genuinely happy. So that means I need to learn how to be a parent, right? And so that has kind of uncovered a deep desire in me to actually start learning and researching listening to stuff, listening to other perspectives, listening to podcasts. I even bought a course for like $1,000, which has been really nice, and I'm getting more into that, right? So this is really, really deep for me. So for example, one thing that we've been struggling with is cleaning up, right? So it's kind of like pairing all this stuff. Our son doesn't clean up because he's trying to seek attention. He's trying to do the opposite of what we asked him because it gets attention. It makes my wife and I really stress out at times. And then the result is that I wonder, like, what am I doing wrong? And then I realize, like, I've actually not tried very hard to teach him how to clean up because I've given up so quickly, right? Because it's actually really hard to explain and teach a child consistently how to clean up. So this is something I'm realizing is, like, I haven't actually tried to teach him how to clean up and give it much effort or time. And that's what I want to do. So I've created a new law in our house that I have to stick to and be consistent with, which is, at the end of the day, anything that is on the floor in the house will be consumed by the cleaning monster that comes every night while the kids are sleeping, like the anti-Santa Claus that comes into your house and steals all of your toys, like the Grinch. Maybe I'll call it the Grinch. And steals all of your toys and all of your art supplies and all the cardboard and paper and whatnot, because that's what he does. And I'm going to say this every night, is if you don't clean up, this monster is going to come and consume all of it and take everything away. And that is guaranteed to get the results that, to an extent, that I want. You know, I mean, ideally it's like I want our kids to want to clean up this stuff and to be responsible, but I'm realizing also that in the meantime we're going to have to compromise, because I think kids are kids, right? It's like kids don't understand or have the deep desire to have things clean. They don't, right? They like, there's literally no personal incentive for kids to have things clean generally, unless they're like kind of off a little, not off, but just like, you know, like organized, and I don't know. Some kids are like that, but most kids, God bless them, don't have this deep desire for cleanliness like adults do, you know. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna just throw away everything, all the Legos, everything that they don't clean up every night, and over time, I think within a few weeks, they will just do it naturally without me asking, and that's the hope. So that's the thing, guys, is I haven't been consistent because it's hard. Does that make sense? I know I could have taught them this kind of thing earlier on, but I just haven't because I'm lazy, because I haven't done my best. And that's a really honest thing for me to admit, because I feel like I do my best, and I always say that I do my best as a parent, but the reality is I don't. And that's okay, because I'm learning how to do it, all right? Anyways, I hope this is valuable for you guys. It's like a kind of a mental journal just to digest what I'm experiencing as a parent, and hopefully it's helpful to some of you guys. And if it is, then subscribe here so we can connect more, and that's it. All right, see you guys later.